Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, this meeting of the Town of Berlin Select Board will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time. The Town of Berlin will use best efforts to post an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the town's webpage, the town's YouTube channel, and approved minutes will be posted to mytowngovernment.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to attend the virtual meeting may attend via the Zoom webinar platform in one of two ways, with both audio and video access or by telephone audio only. Should any board member have technical difficulties and/or lose access to the meeting will recess for a period of time to see whether access can be restored. If not, the meeting will be continued to another date agreed to by a majority of the board or adjourned until our next scheduled meeting. And we'll call the meeting to order at 7:03. We have approval of the November 23rd open session meeting minutes. I think Mary made a couple of changes, just typo type changes, and do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And seconded.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Keefe, aye.
Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
And do we have any correspondence?
No, the only piece of correspondence we have is the petition for the Assabet Housing Consortium, and I'll do that under my TA report.
Okay. And then I will ask if there's any general public comment.
There is somebody here who I think.
I'm seeing no hands
No hand.
raised.
Okay.
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 Then we'll move on to our general department update with the town accountant.
Is Mary, are you?
Oh, here comes
promoted?
June.
Okay.
Hi, June.
Hello. How is everyone? Did everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Short. Mhm.
Interesting.
Hopefully it wasn't a norm.
I found out that it's much more annoying when people talk over each other on Zoom than in real life, including family members.
You probably had a lot. You probably had a lot of Italian people there that were talking all over each other. Is that right?
That is correct. Anyway, okay.
All right.
Welcome, June.
Hi. Since this is the first report, I didn't really know what you guys would be looking for. So I had sent over a report to Margaret as far as just a list as to what's been happening the last few months in the office. I didn't know if you had a chance to take a look, see. I didn't want to bore you with everything, but I could just touch base on a couple of the items. As far as fiscal year 2020, we finally got the books all closed. I was able to start the actual closing around August 24th. I didn't get all the departmental stuff back. So some of them I technically closed the books without getting all the okays. Until I can get the books officially closed, I can't roll over any balances. So pretty much I got things up to date, tied out so that I could at least plug in some numbers on the recap sheet. I worked with the treasurer and the assessor's office and the town clerk to get all that information gathered up. The recap was then certified on October 7th, so the tax bills could be started and printed. Balance sheet was then taken care of. We got that all squared away. That needs to be finalized and sent in for free cash certification. And at the same time, I'm also working on Schedule A, which is pretty much the recap or the summary of all the financial transactions for the year that needs to go into the DOR, Department of Revenue. Now, all of those items, the balance sheet, the recap sheet, and Schedule A, all the numbers have to match, because if they don't, they throw it back to us. So I have to get all of those things done all at one time. Schedule A wasn't actually due until November 30th. We had free cash was certified on November 11th with, as you had received the notice, of 1,756,358. The only thing that they hit us for this year was a couple of the payroll differences in the payroll scam that we had that took place that we need to eventually take care of that too. We've also been working a lot with Margaret as far as getting all the documentation that we need for the COVID reimbursements for both the feds and for MEMA. And that kind of sums up fiscal year 20. So as far as the books goes, they're all closed. I have just now rolled over the balances, and we've started working on getting out the monthly items, because I have to do it in order as far as the months goes. The monthly statements, though, for the departments on the appropriation fundings, those have been being sent out on a monthly basis. So all departments have been seeing those, but due to the fact that I wasn't able to roll over all the balances, that a lot of the special revenue funds have not been being sent out on a regular basis. There have been only a few departments or committees that have actually reached out to me to find out where they actually stood, to make sure that they were up to date on their record keeping. Again, in this fiscal year, we're still continuing to work with Margaret and the state as far as getting the information for the COVID reimbursements out.
Excuse me, June,
Yeah.
if I could, through the chair, if I could just interrupt there one moment. We are keeping up. We are holding up our end of the bargain on COVID reporting and all the expense tracking. The state and FEMA, we have yet to hear from, even on our initial reporting. So they are lagging way far behind. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Fortunately, hopefully we'll hear something back, so at least we know where we stand on that.
I hope so.
Because of the COVID issues that we're having, we're doing a lot of things through electronic approvals and electronic signatures, which is causing extra work, because now we have to print out the approvals on each email that comes through and attach it to the payroll and the expenses. I'm currently working on getting all of the special revenue funds updated and all the receivables. I had a little glitch with the CPA as far as what the procedure is, because Dennis, as he noted in his report, he's been putting some of the items into tax title, which means that they're unpaid taxes, but that also means that there's unpaid CPA funds. They don't really have anything yet in writing as far as how we handle that. So I'm waiting right now for the DOR to get back to me, so I know as far as where the interest goes, whether it's general fund or stays with the CPA funds. We're still rolling along, doing the weekly basis of the payroll and the expense warrants, posting the cash as we're getting it from the treasurer's summaries. We are currently working on some of the special projects. We're working with the fire and EMS on the outstanding ambulance receivables, which I do believe we received one payment. I'm trying to track it down on one of the old bills. We received notice about that on Friday. Still working on some of the policies and procedures in the office for the handbook. And we're working on seeing if we can use the old software for the town assets, because we need to update that for the auditors that are going to be coming in on December 7th. Still working through the old software through my old computer, which is down in the basement, until we get the new software up and running and it has everything transferred over, but it has to be done manually. The budget process has started already for fiscal year 22. Those have come in. I just received a number of them today. It looks like most people waited till today to actually do their budgets. So hopefully that will keep me busy this week as far as making sure I got all the information on the budget so that I can pass it off to Margaret for her to do what she needs to do with it. We are also still working with the financial team as far as with the town administrator, the tax collector, Dennis and Molly, working on procedures as far as financial issues and procedures. We have
We're
a
meeting
meeting
tomorrow
tomorrow morning. Also just doing general department relations as far as working with the different departments that need it or need assistance or ask for different financial issues or problems that they have. And I also have been working with the Neshoba Valley Regional Dispatch District as far as we had a meeting on November 18th, where we went over all of last year's information and also current year's information, where they stand on that. They also, just an update, they did put in for approximately $8,000 to $9,000 worth of reimbursements for the COVID. So hopefully they'll find out something on their end there too. And pretty much we're just waiting for them to start working on the new budget as far as for fiscal year 22. So we have an idea on what we need to come up with for our end. So that's pretty much it. It's just a general overview on what's going on. I didn't know what type of information you would find interesting as far as to know on a regular basis. So questions are welcome.
Just for Scott's information, June is on the finance committee for the regional dispatch. And then Margaret goes to the admin meetings. I used to, and now Margaret does. Lucky her. But I'm the alternate. So, yes, any questions for June?
No way.
Go for it.
I know. Hey, I've been good to you. I've been good to you on the expenses that I haven't like shot back multiple questions. So it's all good. Just three basic ones. And I know I've asked this before, like to you, but I figured I would ask since we're all here. As we go into budget season, and as you send out all the expenses, you don't have a way, June, or is it specifically the department to say, let's just pick conservation because they're the first ones that come to mind. They have a budget of $100. We'll just make it easy. They've spent 70. Is there any way for you to tell what they have for remaining budgets, or is that truly to each department to say, I have this much, I've spent this much, therefore I have like that much left?
Actually, when I get the budgets back and I double check all the numbers to make sure that what they were appropriate, what they were approved last year is actually what they're using on this year's. What I do is that once I plug in and make sure all of those things are and the calculations are all correct, what I do is on Vadar, what we're able to do is to plug in numbers for the past, I pick 8 years, 5 to 8 years, and it'll actually show you what was budgeted, what was spent, and then it will show you what they've actually spent to date when they submit that budget. Right now it's based on October 30th, but when it finally goes to finance committee, I will do it like as of the end of December so that they can see what's there.
But as you go along, it's not on a month-to-month basis. It's really just at the end, correct?
No, for who?
Any department
No, every department actually gets monthly statements that show
Okay.
them where they are, and they're actually supposed to sign off on it and
Okay,
return it back to me that says we're in balance.
okay.
Not that sometimes I catch them that they just sign it off and give it back to me, because usually then I accidentally come across a problem. So I know some of them are just signing off on it, but which doesn't help me.
Yeah.
But
But I know that when I was on FinCom, it was actually quite useful to have that, both where you are year to date, but where you've been in historic years, because you can see like, boy, you've underspent this line item each of the last 7 years and you're asking for more this year. Why are you asking for more when you haven't spent what you've had? And there's never giant money there, but it does help sort of keep some things under control. And some of them are actually even the realm of the select board, where we're spending on town electricity and where we're spending on town oil and other stuff like that we've sometimes discovered we don't need the money that we've been asking for.
I actually gave out a copy of somebody's budget last year to them, and they've actually requested that same input so that they can see what it is that their department actually has been spending year to year as far as an actual, all in one place. So I thought that was kind of cool, so.
Okay.
And
Right.
through the
Go ahead,
chairs.
Margaret.
That was doing that, just what Scott said, the review of the prior year's expenditures, was a big part of what we had to do in paring down the FY21, budgets, with some of those, so.
You do end up with a slightly double-edged sword, because if you budget everything, let's say we were able to budget everything exactly to the penny, that means there's no free cash, because this is where all the free cash comes, what we used to
Exactly.
buy some capital items in this town. Now, you don't want to, have it too high. So it's trying to find that right balance where we're not spending the end of the year doing 40,000 reserve fund transfers to make up for things we're short on, but also not with a lot of free cash.
Right,
Or given a lot of extra that they can just kind of spend it on whatever.
Right.
yeah.
Come
Yeah,
the
you
end of
wanna
the
be
year,
sure.
so.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, so question number 2. In your report, you said that you're returning the budgets that weren't filled out according to the instructions. Is there like a trend? Do we know
Yeah.
why? Do we?
I have more going back than going forward to Margaret, let's just say. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is the exact same things that we stressed on our kickoff. And the departments were actually there that are actually being the ones that are being returned. So, because a lot of them right now, they're doing it there, which bothers me a lot, because like I said, we are sending out monthly statements that show what was approved at town meeting and what's been being spent. And they're still putting down what they requested on their budget form, not what was approved. So I'm actually, instead of me making the changes, I'm actually sending it back to them with a little sticky on it that says, nope, this is not what you have, redo it, and whatever else needs to be done.
Yeah, and through the chair, that's really important to send it back and require that the fixes be done by the departments, because otherwise it's really difficult to learn the proper way to do
It'll
it.
just
So,
continue.
And then Margaret, you're providing assistance on that, right? And June doesn't always have to be the heavy, because these report to you.
We've
And so-
actually had one instance where I returned it, and then they went to Margaret to kind of con her into not having to do all the paperwork, but
And Margaret said no.
well, I said, well, this is
we're working on this.
yeah, we're working on it. It hasn't been taken care of yet.
All right.
So we're working.
And last question, and please don't like throw anything at me. The Neshoba Valley Regional District, was there ever any thought about maybe going back just to have it as local Berlin like we used to have? I mean, have there been true cost savings because of it?
I actually, that was requested by the finance committee. I think it was the last meeting. And I need to actually sit down and do some major calculations as far as to give you an honest answer on that.
Okay,
Because I can't just go back and say, okay, what they were approved X in their payroll and X in their expenses, because then we also have to take into consideration the retirement now is moved,
Right.
the health insurance is moved, the payroll taxes have moved. So there's a few other added costs associated with it, on top of the fact that I think at the time we were moving, I believe that we were having issues with where we were getting a little bit busier. If we had a major call, that they were trying to figure out how we could get an additional dispatcher in if needed
Yep.
to help with what was going on. So I am working on it as soon as I come up with some numbers and talk with the chief, just to make sure that we are on the same page as far as additional things. Then I can give you an honest answer, because I really don't have it just to throw at you.
no, and that's fine. And I know that some of these, can't get an immediate answer, but I'd just be curious that it's one of those, oh, look, everyone else is doing it, so why don't we do it too? And then you look a couple years out and go,
I have to say, I do believe that at the time it was a big money saver as
Yeah.
far as what we were given on paper.
Yep.
So I think that there are also a number of items that I know that I'm aware of that changed over the course of the idea, us transferring over and then us becoming part of the system.
yep,
So I think there are a lot of of other things to be added into it. Not that it's not a bad idea to take a look at it and see. The other thing is too, is that if we were to ever consider bringing it back, that would mean all 911 equipment would have to be
Yeah.
done. So it would be a big cost to bring it back if but that, I mean, would be up
Well,
to.
yeah, yeah, I mean, you need an ROI on that, so.
Yep.
And it's
So
also,
I will take a look and
it's
get back
also
to
the fact that it's not just the money, it's the services. And, you know, whether the services are better at being a member of the district, or could we even give the same services by ourselves?
Yeah,
You know,
it may not be quite as personal as what we're used to, because I have
Right.
to be one of those, what it's been like. I mean, I've been here all my life, so I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And where my mom was a dispatcher from the house for a long time too, I remember the personal service that you got, which is definitely not now.
No.
But as far as the whole reason, one of the major reasons that they're there is to provide the actual emergency services in general, which would be more, I don't want to
Mhm.
say important, but a
Mhm.
big part of that too. So
I also thought one of the issues really had to do with, I think what Chris alluded to, is that second phone call or third phone call is that, you know, like we've seen a significant increase in police services and fire services, the number of calls to 911 also has to be creeping up as well, and the ability to do 2 or 3 simultaneous calls just became almost undoable unless we did a serious revamping of how we provided that service.
great, as long as we were quiet and only one thing was happening at a time, it wasn't bad. But so yeah, I'll take a look at it for financial end of it and let you know.
Margaret, did you have something to say?
Yes, I just want to add one thing about regional dispatch districts. So, dispatch in general is covered by the state's 911 department. They oversee dispatch. And over the past few years, I've worked with regional dispatch centers elsewhere and towns that were just moving into them. Over the past several years, the state 911 department has really pushed for increased regionalized dispatch centers, to the point that they no longer will fund support and incentive grants to standalone dispatch centers. They will fund support and incentive grants, which are like annual operational grants, to regional dispatch centers, because they want to keep promoting the regional aspect of the dispatch center. So that's just a general thing. I know I have a lot to learn about how decisions were made as far as this dispatch center goes, but all the points made tonight are very valid. To be able to have sufficient backfill for a dispatch center in a time when it's very difficult to even recruit and train dispatchers is a challenge. So yeah, there's that issue, there's the cost issue, the benefits issue, and things like that. So there's a lot to look at.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions for June?
It was an
Um,
awesome first job.
Let me know if
Yeah.
there's anything special that you guys want me to bring in for the next report, other than the basic, boring, everyday.
I
Tons of
am
crap.
always interested in
Indeed.
emergency services billing,
Mm.
the accounts receivable there. I get that we recognize revenue as it comes in, which is probably the right way. Actually, I can guarantee it's the right way to do it. It's just how do we then, without adding a lot of administrative burden, track on like what that revenue could be, what the step off is between, you know, bill and what receivables might be out there, um, and just a way of sort of tracking it so we can make sure we're doing a decent job getting as much as practical without spending so much money, because I'd hate to spend $10,000 to track down $500 a year. So
Yeah, we're definitely, that's something that we're working on right
Yep.
now as far as a
I agree.
procedure. And now that we have people there that on a regular basis, we're definitely rolling on it. It's just unfortunately such backlog.
Yep.
But we don't want to lose our chance of getting
Mhm.
the newer stuff too. So we're trying to equal it out so that we're spending time in both places, but not.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree. Good prioritization.
Okay. Well, thank you, June.
Thanks,
Very
June.
welcome.
Thanks.
Pleasure seeing
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Take
June.
care.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. And let's see. Let's move on to having the Personnel Committee talk to us. They're going to talk to us about the FY21 market wage and FY22 COLA.
Hi, Claire.
Hi. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Boy, that
Thank you. You
went
too.
fast. It was
I
like,
know.
you blinked and it was over. And Sue's there too. There
Here
she is.
she is.
Oh,
So I hope, was the information sent to you ahead of time?
yes.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
Yep,
All
I've
right.
looked over it.
Okay, so there was a memo that I sent, and it's the typical memo that we've been doing for the last few years. And it speaks to establishing a compensation policy, and Sandy will be guiding us towards, making some changes as we go through the rest of this year into fiscal year 22. We want to make sure we maintain our staff and our service levels. We want to consider the thought of step raises and cost of living adjustments in a way that is consistent with economic conditions and the town's ability to meet those expenditures and be sustainable. There was an assessment and market analysis done on positions. The committee did not do them outright this year. In the past, we have done them ourselves on the HRA website. But this year we were fortunate enough to have the HR consultant do that for us. So that was a huge time savings for us. So they looked at the internal equity and they looked at the appropriate market rates, effective fiscal management of revenues, capital, and operating costs. All these things are melded into the budget that the finance committee works on. And consideration of expenditures and any related costs to the residents of town, because given everything that we have in our small town, it may come down to a cost to the residents. Other considerations so over the past several years, we've looked at the consumer price index, and I went over those here. And I also mentioned that the Berlin town employees did not receive a COLA last year. Now we recommended a cost of living adjustment of 1.5% last year, but we ended up level funding it mainly because of COVID, and we didn't know what was going to be happening. So the average COLA for the local towns in the Massachusetts Municipal Association is approximately 2%. So not everybody has reported out, but I did pull some of those figures for us. There are some towns. Acton is doing 0% this year. Agawam's doing 2%. Boxborough's doing 2.5% steps, but no COLA. Ashburnham's doing 2%. Ashby's doing 2%. Lexington's doing 2%. Medway. So it kind of runs the gamut. A lot of them are waiting to see what happens with the collective bargaining with their unions. So they've held off on that. So in light of all this information that we discussed at Personnel Committee, and we'd like to recommend the following salary increases for fiscal year 22, and there's a piece for 21 as well. A 2% cost of living adjustment for all paid elected officials and other employees not otherwise covered by contract. And this year I added petitioning for organization. In my past history, we were not, it was very much frowned upon by the Department of Labor and giving increases during the time of a petition and an organizing campaign. So I did not include them. Any additional adjustments over the 2% COLA for hourly and salary employees, whether or not subject to contract, will be considered for the budget during the classification and compensation study process, which is still going on. But a piece of that we discussed was that there were some market adjustments that we made last year. the Board of Selectmen approved them on January 13th, 2020. However, when March came along and we got the final recommendations from Finance Committee, some of those changed. So basically, the information that we're recommending to the Select Board is information that came out of that January 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting and the final finance recommendations, which we were given, I think Margaret sent them to us on March 8th. So then COVID hit and we ended up doing level funding anyway. So we have attached to your information a proposed market adjustments for fiscal year 21. And we're recommending that these begin on January 1st, 2021. These were the major ones that we had, most of them we had recommended last year. And Sandy also in her recommendations when looking at this information, she also recommended some changes in this realm to the Select Board and to the Personnel Committee. I know that those final recommendations have not come from her as yet, but at least this will help us move the process along a little bit to get people to where they should be. So the very first line item on the spreadsheet that I sent was for the town accountant. And last year we had recommended that this annual salary, currently the salary is approximately 81,600. So our recommendation to the Board of Selectmen last year was that we move this position to 90,000. We had done our own market assessment at the time. Now Sandy has since done another one, and it's coming out at about the same spot actually when you figure out the 75th percentile and the years of experience that this person brings with them to that position. So on March 8th, the Finance Committee had come back to us and said that they did not want to go to the original recommendation of 90,000, but they recommended the amount of 86,143. So that's what we're recommending to the board. The second person is the accounting clerk. And again, last year, the same exact thing, we recommended an increase to this position. It never happened. So we're recommending that increase to the board again. The third line item for the Board of Assessors, the Director of Assessing, we are recommending the same exact recommendation that we made for fiscal year 21 that we're in right now. We made this recommendation and the board approved it on January 13th, 2020. And so we're recommending the same exact thing for that one. The same for the town clerk. The public safety admin, we received some information on that position from the chief. We reviewed the job description. We reviewed performance evaluations. We also reviewed the information from the HR consultant on that. And so we are making a recommendation to move that position up so that, and actually this will help us a little bit, same with the accounting piece, because if we go to the compensation program that the HR consultant is recommending to us, this will at least get these people to the new minimum of those ranges that the HR consultant is recommending. So I wanted to put that out there to everybody. So what we basically did was we looked at the minimum of the new ranges and then we backed out a 2% COLA. So that person with the COLA will get to the minimum of that new range come July 2022. 2022. Then Board of Health, same thing. We looked at the market data for that through the one that HR Consulting had given to us, and we're recommending, and by virtue of going to the rate that we're recommending, again, that would bring her that position once the COLA is given, that would give that position, bring them to the new min. There was a situation with the next line item, the waste transfer manager. Only one town out of 10 towns that we surveyed had a waste manager or a transfer station manager. So we're going to try and get some more data on that. Margaret had mentioned at our meeting when I brought this up that many towns have their highway department do this, and that might be the reason why. But we want to have all the data in front of us so that we're looking at things in a very equitable manner. But we want to leave a placeholder there, so we just left that position on the spreadsheet so that we can look into this further. The Council on Aging Director is the next line item. We knew when we hired this person and when our former person left that we were behind, and this came out last year as well. So we're trying to take baby steps here. We did increase this a little bit earlier in the year, and now we're taking the next step in the process to move it up to where it should be. So we're recommending, and again, that would bring that person to where we think they should be come the beginning of fiscal year 22. The next one is the same exact recommendation that we made last year, and it was approved by the Select Board on the 13th of January. So we're bringing that again to the Select Board. And also in the HR consultant doing some additional research on some of our positions, they looked at the, I think that is the child's librarian? Okay, Sue is nodding her head. Yes, thank you. That is the children's librarian. And when we looked at the data and when the consultant looked at the data, we were behind. So we're making a recommendation for an adjustment in that realm. And that will also bring that position to the new minimum of the ranges that the HR consultant will possibly be proposing in their final proposals. So the annual cost on these increases, market adjustments, would be $16,000. So for fiscal year 21, it would be half of that. So the cost would be about $8,000, a little bit over $8,000 for the cost. And we still have additional monies in that contingency fund that we had set aside when we level funded and did not give the increases last year. So any questions from folks?
Nice job.
Thanks.
Peg.
So Claire, I have a question, and maybe you can help me with this. So I'm looking at the assessor's position. And then I go back and I look at the Berlin market data report, and I look at the director of assessing. So I'm looking at the right person, right? Or the right listing.
Right. Yeah.
So if I look at that, and I look at FY20 in Berlin, with the exception of Maynard, that hourly rate is higher than any other town that you have data on. So why are we putting that position in for an increase?
Because she didn't give herself the COLA the year before last. That's what that was, Peg. It was the COLA from the year before last. So last year when we noticed, when we were doing the COLA last year, we said, wait a minute, something's funny here. We don't know why, but she didn't go up last year. So the amount that we're recommending there,
That's all right.
let me see.
1,200, well,
On my other thing. So she was supposed to go to, last year, 4378. And the year before, she was supposed to go to 43.13. She did not give herself the year before COLA. So she had never gone to the 43.13 that she was supposed to be in when we did the COLA last year, which we didn't end up doing anyway.
so
Does that
sh-
make sense?
well, kind of, sort of, not really. So, like how that's specifically
No, but
generic.
I do understand where you're coming from. I
Well,
do.
because on your proposed market increases doc, you have a yearly contract slash salary of 66 and change, but you're saying that she should be at 43. So are you saying we're moving her to 43 or we're moving her to 66?
Oh, I'm sorry. This information from June is by salary. When I did it out for the Board of Selectmen last year, and it actually, I presented it in December and it went to January. We looked at it, just the hourly rate. So that's why I'm saying the $43.13 an hour
All right, so
times the 30 hours.
3 times 30.
Can I just ask a clarification
Sure.
question? It's not the select board that approves the assessing director's salary, am I right? It would be the assessors.
Right. So we,
Just curious.
right, but it was a market adjustment that we brought to
Right.
the select board. That's what I was talking about. So
Yeah.
that was last year that we had brought it, that change to the
Mhm.
select board. The select board approved that change. So what I was saying was, because we knew she was behind from not giving herself the COLA the year before, that's why we were recommending that.
Right, right. But generally, it's approved by the assessors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Are you clear, Peg?
I am, but the math makes sense, but still I'm looking at it as I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why at the hourly rate of 43.13, as I said, there was only one town higher than her, and she's over by a great amount to all the other towns that you have data on. So I guess I'm having a hard time understanding, even though she missed out on a COLA, why you're going to give her a bump when it looks to me that she's above average.
Could it be just a question of since she forgot and she was approved to have that COLA and just forgot, that it's a matter of making up for it?
Well, that's what we had basically done and why we put it in our spreadsheet. And I do see here, and Peg, I have the information right in front of me as well. So I do absolutely understand where, but our thought was more along the lines that where she did not get that COLA when she should have, that's why we were adding that in. I'm trying to look here to see what some of the towns were that,
And we know that was an oversight and not a specific action by the select board at the time or the Board of Assessors at the time, that they thought she was already sort of above where she should have been and just chose not to give her the COLA that year. Because it wouldn't be her personal choice, would it have been?
right, but I think she forgot to write it on the finance report. I may be totally wrong.
She probably puts in the budget.
Right.
And when she fills out the budget, she just forgot to give herself the COLA.
I don't know, I guess I'm still struggling.
Anyway.
If you look at the market data report, she's
Yeah.
at 43.13. Air is at 36, Boxborough 33, Littleton 40, Maynard 45, Northborough 37, Paxton 27, Stowe 31. So to me, it already looks like she's sitting at a higher rate than other towns around her. And I don't know if her 30 hours is what the other town assessor director people work, or if they put in a 40-hour week. So that's where I'm struggling with Claire and Sue, is that I look just plainly at those numbers, and she's paid more an hour than any other towns that you're looking at. So I'm having a hard time grasping, even though it was a mistake and maybe she should have gotten the money in, but I'm struggling with, if you're already
Okay.
overpaid, why are we giving you a raise?
Okay, that makes total
I
sense.
think,
That-
oh, excuse me, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Great.
According to the market data, I just want to be clear. I think if we were just to look at the averages of the comp towns, there's that average range from 3687 to 4481. So she is within the average.
What was it
Her-
again,
her-
Margaret?
Her
36
wages are
above?
within the average.
Oh, 36 to 44, but she's
Yeah,
still on the high end. If the high end is
of the average,
44,
high end of average.
right? So she's on the high end of average is 4404, and she's at 4313. And I don't want to be a Grinch, and I don't want to be like the one who's looking at the budget going, no, you can't. But to me, and I would even do that to the people that work for me, if you're here and everybody else is here and their raise is only going to get them to here, then your raise is going to get you to here. So you're going to have this constant disparity, so that the next person that we bring in, they're going to want to start up here.
Right. Well, one of the things that, with you bringing this up, we do say that these are proposed market adjustments. So I think that we should take into consideration your information, because we're calling them market adjustments.
Mhm.
And if the person's already meeting the market, then
Right.
perhaps they shouldn't be on that.
So I
was
feel
this-
somewhat the same about the accounting position. And so the accounting, her current salary is the lower end of the 75th percentile average, which is fine. But I go back and, that position is up 20,000 over the last 5 years. And so to add another 5,000 on top of it feels like, I feel that somehow I mean, June does a great job. And so this
Mhm.
is, but that I feel every year she is a good advocate for herself getting a raise. I don't think that means that every year we need to be giving her one. And I think, I mean, another 4,000 on top of already at 20,000 over the last. So I looked at the 2017 annual report budget, and that just seems like a lot of raises.
Margaret, did you have something to say?
There's, well, I can't really speak from a lengthy history with that. And yes, those particular wages have increased significantly, partly due to an increase in approved work hours, weekly hours, and then partly due to market adjustments. So since FY15, since FY15, over the past 6 years, there has been a significant increase. But again, that's attributable to two separate increases in hours. And I believe it's at least one, if not two, market adjustments.
Yeah.
It looks to me that back several years, the position appears to have been woefully below market. And so I think it took a couple of years to make incremental adjustments to get that position just to within market. So again, I've just done kind of a paper analysis on the history of this one, but that's what it looks like to me.
And I think last year, oh, I'm sorry, Chris, is it
Oh,
okay?
go ahead.
I think last year we tried to bring it up a little bit more, and we had actually even recommended a higher amount, and I could certainly understand where, finance came back to us and said that, we can't do that. So again, a little bit at a time, baby steps, trying to get the person or get the position to where it should be in the market. That would be the reason why Scott why I think that these things have occurred.
And
So-
then the 16,000, which I get the impact for us is going to be 8,000 for this fiscal year. That's the entirety of changes for fiscal year 21, or is there sort of that spreadsheet of hours, if we're going to adjust that for also? I want to get a sense of how much we're potentially committing if we take the recommendations.
Claire, do you want me to attempt to answer
Yeah,
that?
you can, that would be
The
great.
chair. Okay, so yeah, the $16,000 would be representative of the entire annual adjustment. In FY '21, the market adjustments that are proposed by personnel would only equal the $8,000. However, those $8,000 would then be calculated into COLA adjustments for FY '22. So hope I explained that right, Claire.
Yeah. Yeah, and yes, because I did the hours times the wage, the new wage. Yeah, so that should come out correct.
And there is, I'm sorry, if I
Go ahead.
may just add, I think to the second part of your question, Scott, this list might not be all inclusive. I think these are the positions that have been prioritized by the Personnel Committee for market adjustments. However, when Sandy's final reports come in and after review of, say, the transfer station positions, there could be additional recommendations by personnel for those particular positions.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we can hear you. Go ahead.
No, I'm on a new laptop, so it wasn't working.
Oh,
I just have one thing to add about the assessor is I think, Peg, you can't look at it as a raise. This is the COLA that other employees received. We're not giving her a raise. We're just giving her the COLA that the other employees received. That's all.
particular year. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Claire or Sue?
When we come out with a new, I call it the wage spreadsheet. I'm sure it has a much more technical term than that lists the grades and the steps and the wages. And let's say we plan it to take effect for fiscal year 22. Are there going to be people who get both a significant or some raise just because of the change on that spreadsheet, and they're going to get 2% on top of that? Or are we just going to give 2% COLA for people who did not get at least a 2% increase when it came to the revised spreadsheet?
That's a really good question. We're trying to kind of figure that out. Our goal with doing these adjustments here was to try and get them so that they'd come in, Scott, at the new min, so to speak, of what she recommended to us. And she may make changes to those, but really the committee itself, when we were going through all this information, we're thinking, oh boy, okay, how are we going to do this? Because it is moving people into the new ranges is going to take some work for us too. I can't really speak for the whole committee because we haven't really talked about this yet, but my thought would be that the 2% would bring them as close to the new min as possible, or if they're already making within the range that the new range they're going to, then they would just get the 2% COLA. They wouldn't get an additional increase if they're already within the correct range.
And I think my comments are as much as when we get to the 22 budget and talk about this, my thinking is trying to make sure that people aren't getting a substantial increase and a 2% on top of it.
Right.
I think, we're still in a fairly uncertain economic times. I know that like in my staff and my work, not only did I have to lay a few people off, I've had to cut some salaries, including my own. And
I
so,
know.
holding your own salary and holding your own job is a good thing in this time. That I still believe people should be able to, with their jobs, pay their rent and have food on their tables too. So
Right.
it is the tear all the way around.
We were very cognizant of that because we're seeing it all around us, everywhere, people everywhere. The reason we thought about the 2% was the consumer price index plus the fact they didn't get anything last year. So that was one of the reasons why we went with that. But knowing also that finance may come back and say, because, we did get some ideas on the cost of a 2% increase, and finance may come back to us and say, we can't do the 2%. So at least we're putting it out there.
I'm very appreciative of the work that you have done and are doing on this. I am a numbers person, and I spent a bunch of time looking at these spreadsheets and trying to understand their impacts. And you can see that I'm still having some questions on it as
Yeah.
well.
And I love working on all this stuff, but again, I'm with you. Okay, so you got to go back and you got to go forward, and
Yep.
so thank you for your diligence.
Margaret.
I don't want to belabor the point, but to add to what Claire responded to on your question, Scott, it is the select board that will adopt a classification and compensation plan, and you can actually set the terms of that. So if you find you could incorporate or adopt it over a period of time, or make it effective the following year. You have the ability to manage how you're going to adopt that plan.
And we had a salary contingency plan in the fiscal year 21 budget that passed the town meeting. I don't remember what that number is off the top of my head. Does anyone know what that
The
was?
cost of living adjustment?
No, I thought there was like in the budget, because we didn't know what the spreadsheet was going to do, and we're going to plan for these. I thought, we put a.
The contingency line allowed for up to $33,000, a little over $33,000 for market adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Claire and Sue, for coming.
Thanks.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Yeah.
And our next steps on this task are, because if they have some plans for raises that would take effect on January 1st, if they move to like a proposal, because this is a presentation sort of today, right? So it then goes to new business, and then
the proposal would actually come as a request for the contingency line approval for those.
Okay. And that would come from the accountant?
It'll come from the personnel committee. So after your next meeting, when you meet the next time,
Okay.
you can refine the numbers and make sure that your request is, reflects the accurate numbers for all those positions.
Okay, great.
And then I assume we'll put it on the agenda in a week or two, couple of weeks. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Susie.
Thank
Thanks, Sarah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
They do such a great job and then get the crap kicked out of them.
Okay.
They withstand it well.
They do.
Yes.
I mean, it's just general questions, and
Sure.
that's just it. We have to do what is right, but we also have to do what is right for the town, kind of like backing up Scott's point of, hey, I can get you to where you were, but I'm not going to give you a raise on top of it. So, type of thing.
Okay, then next we've got the town administrator report.
Hey, I'll try to keep it moving like I did last week.
Yeah.
Speaking of working hard and sometimes not getting appreciated by the select board.
Yeah, really.
All right, so today the budget requests were due. June explained that. From here, once departments have corrected any corrections that need to be made, I am going to start plugging in the request numbers into the working budget spreadsheet. So over the next week, I am going to be putting the actual budget requests, all the backup, and the working budget spreadsheet into a Google Drive folder for the board and personnel, for the board and finance committee to review. The next item is that the state legislature has amended special legislation that was adopted due to COVID back in March of 2020 that allowed land use boards to suspend hearings until the declared public health emergency was lifted. In the supplemental budget approval by the legislature, I think it was last week, They actually pulled that and said that hearings must resume in December. So our land use boards have been notified, and I know ZBA is actively working on how they're going to re-implement or restart the hearings by virtual means or some sort of hybrid model so that they can actually meet the requirements. And speaking of special legislation, I received emails today from the legal division at the governor's office. And I'm going to be talking with a representative at the governor's office tomorrow morning at 9:30 about the special legislation we've proposed. My hope is that they just want clarification or they want to provide guidance as to how to get the petitions moved forward through the legislature. But I will be speaking to them tomorrow morning and I'll keep the board posted. The next item I have is the Shared Streets and Spaces Pilot Project. It's going to be taken down next Monday. Next Monday night, the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee is going to be holding a community feedback session virtually at 6:30 p.m. The agenda and the Zoom login is posted on My Town Government. We also have something up on the town's webpage. Thank you very much, Mary. And on the town's Facebook page. Notices about it were posted today at the post office, general store, 19 Carter. I could not get into the library, so those are waiting for posting at the library and on the front doors of this building. We are inviting written comments from residents and others prior to and after the community feedback session. Comments can be submitted via email, US mail, hand delivered to the green drop box. So there are a number of ways people can get their comments in. What I would ask for with the comments is ideas. We don't want to just end on, this is, this didn't work. What we'd love to hear is some feedback from the community proposing ideas or suggestions as to how the village center can become more pedestrian and bicycle friendly and how we can add parking and things like that would work for the entire community. So we'll be welcoming those comments as well.
Margaret, can I just
Yes.
interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I tried to go to My Town Government and
Yeah.
find how to log in. The link that you had in your TA report it went to My Town Government. What
Okay.
board would it be under? Would it be under Select Board?
Traffic Safety Advisory Committee. So go to
Okay.
Traffic Safety Advisory Committee on the list and
All right.
on December 7th, and that's the link.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
The next item I have is that I have attached to tonight's town administrator report a draft petition to join the Assabet Regional Housing Consortium. If it looks okay to the board, I would ask that the board vote to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the town. A late addition to your agenda folder was the town's SHI. I do want to attach that so that other towns know what Berlin's going to be bringing with them to the consortium as far as affordable units. So that's going to go. So if everybody thinks that the petition looks okay, I'd ask that you authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the town and we can get these petitions out.
So moved.
Second,
Boom chakalaka.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. So we're going to have individual, Chris, you'll have at least 8 to 10 different letters to sign. They have to go to every single party. So, okay,
Just
we'll
let
get
us know
those
when you're
ready. So thank you very much. This is exciting. The next item is that it's called the Municipal Energy Technical Assistance Grant, the Green Communities Consulting Assistance Grant. The state contract has been fully executed. I have set up an energy committee meeting for December 15th. That's going to be dependent on whether a quorum is available. If not, it's going to be an informal work group meeting so we can kind of make our way through the scope of work and the state contract vendor qualifications for our request for quotes on this project. And then the next thing I have is that we have been notified that Berlin has been awarded $5,600 Maya Risk Management Grant to nice work
First one.
for roof safety initiatives or for property protection. So that's going to include a professional rubber membrane roof inspection on the town office building and the installation of roof safety guards. And that's an OSHA requirement now. So we've got funding for that. If you haven't signed up yet for the Berlin Holiday Lights Challenge, you should sign up by today. Today is the deadline. I don't know if that's a hard deadline or not, but email recreation@townofberlin.com to enter your house or business in this contest. And that's going to be judged by folks who are driving along what they call the Twinkle Tour. I think it's so cute.
And when is
And then the next thing is
Right.
Coffee Talk 9.0. You have that on your agenda tonight, so I won't get too much into that. And the final thing I have is that last Tuesday, November 24th at 3 p.m., Chris Keefe, the Select Board Chair, Highway Superintendent Dave Smith, myself, and Assessing Director Molly Reed attended a site visit at Barnes Hill Road at the entrance of Richards Drive to view the storm drain. We were met by Curtis Cowell, who I think is in the audience tonight. I just want to provide a few updates from that site visit. First of all, Dave Smith, the highway superintendent, had David E. Ross Associates perform a survey on the storm drain. We are currently awaiting the stakes to be put in. I think they were being called to come back and put the stakes in because we want to confirm that the storm drain is actually on the townway. So that is going to be instrumental in determining the location of the storm drain. So Mr. Cowell allowed us to walk along Richard Drive with him, and he pointed to some areas of washout on Richard Drive, which is a gravel road. We observed a swale along the edge. I'd call it the upper edge, the upper along the hillside edge. We observed a swale along Richard Drive. That really didn't appear to be very functional at this time. So I don't know that that is actually a working swale or just kind of a swale that's been there for a long time. We do have, I actually had the opportunity to go there today and sit for a while on Barnes Hill and observe the water flowing down the hill. The storm drain was working great. What didn't appear to be working great was at the lower side of Richard Drive, there is an apron, and there seems to be some dips in that apron. This is on the downhill side of Richard Drive, and there clearly was water that had puddled in there and was flowing into the road. So that was one, that seemed to be one big area of concern. And then there was also an area right in the middle of the apron and Richards Drive that appeared to be sunken a little bit, and there seemed to be water flowing down from the middle of Richard Drive. And finally, the last area where so there were actually three areas where water was seemed to be coming in. The other one was in an area that is directly adjacent. It's a paved, sloped area next to the storm drain that appeared to have water coming either from the person's lawn next to it or down the road around the storm drain. So it's a paved, sloped thing that goes into the apron right there. So while we don't have resolution to this matter yet, it's going to help to have the stakes there. And we do have a lot more work to do on it. We appreciate that Mr. Cowell allowed us to walk with him. And what I am going to suggest is that we have a video recorder that is placed at the pole watching the edge of the public way, or that monitors the edge of the public way to watch continually the issues that are going on in that area. Today was a perfect day, though, to be out watching it. It was raining cats and dogs, and so that's what I saw.
Okay. Questions for Margaret?
What are our planned next steps on this?
Do you want us to approve your recommendation, Margaret, of a video camera?
I think that would be extremely helpful, because we get to see in real time the impacts that that rain is having, or that water is having there. The other next step absolutely is going to be putting the stakes in, the surveyor's stakes. I want that. We need that to be done as well. Looks like.
Mary, do you have a question?
No, Mr. Cowell has his hand up.
Okay. Were you finished, Margaret?
I am finished for now, yes.
Okay. So Mr. Cowell will move you up to the board's meeting, and if you have a comment or so, that would be fine.
Yep, you got the camera, and there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Curtis Cowell, I heard your comments, and camera would be great. And, you know, putting in that survey point in the center of the road would be helpful. But obviously, I don't know who I'm seeing. Oh, there we go. Oh, there I am.
You doing some somersaults there?
You know, I my first time on the Zoom thing. So
Okay.
anyways, as I had said to you, the little plus or minus, is it a little on the property, or is it a lot on the property? Is it not on my property, but in the town road? The location, the depth, and as you saw, that plus or minus a foot of my mark, the town definitely came onto my property, altered the property. You can see that by the new asphalt, that little apron that Margaret was talking about, the water coming over. That used to be part of the entry. So, you know, we still got to address that. And I don't know that we really need cameras. I sent dozens and dozens of pictures of debris that's washed out of the drain and down the road. So again, it's not just, you know, even if it's in the town highway, it's in the middle of the road, Richards Drive, the road, which, and its depth. And those other areas I had mentioned the other day, that lower portion, that it does overflow, because the road there's a very, very narrow band of the road that is lower than Richards Drive. The bulk of the road is above Richards Drive. It's just kind of tails down, and you know, it's maybe 2 or 3 inches wide there. So like right now it's pouring even more than cats and dogs. So I'm sure there'll be significant washout in Richards Drive from tonight's event. So again, put the pin in the middle of the road, and we'll see where it is. And then we can still address, like I say, the swale doesn't just catch water from the road. It catches water from the hill, coming down the hill, because Barnes Hill is all clay. So, you know, there was a drain that the town came on the property and filled in, that also ran into that swale on the side of the road. But it's no longer there. The town highway department at the time felt it prudent to, I don't know if they took it out, filled it in, or what they did. So
Okay,
anyways, we'll watch for the survey. I do find it interesting, though, that the surveyor came out and you sent me some quasi drawing that they made. So hopefully he's brings some equipment and, you know, does it. But that gentleman, that survey company also did the property on both sides. So they should have good marks in this to work off of.
okay, thank you. Margaret, did you have
Again,
something
it's
else?
not, you know, I don't want to focus on, you know, the location in the center of the opening of Richards Drive, you know, and the depth of it, because obviously all the drains are low to divert water to the drains. So like I said, you know, it makes it impossible to pull in from coming up the hill, because of the depth and the, you know, of course, the curb. That little piece that he added back in was never to the top of a curb. But anyhow,
All
we
right,
had the conversation the other day, so we'll see where it is in relation to the road, and then we'll go from there.
okay.
Okay.
I
All right, thank you. Thank you, Curtis.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks.
So Margaret, I have a few questions on the camera. A, do we have one? B, how are you going to keep it safe? C, how long are you going to keep it up? And are you potentially videotaping private property?
That's what we would have to be careful of. We would have to be sure that the video is only catching the public way. That's all we would be able to do. So we'd be looking at the storm drain and the berm is what we'd be looking at.
So do we have a camera?
The police department can probably provide us one,
And
Or-
for how long?
put one up.
don't
Would have been
know.
ideal today.
No.
I know it could be snow for the next few storms,
Rainstorms.
but
Yeah, it's not going to do any good in the winter, so probably not for more than another few weeks if it can be done
Okay.
quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, but next steps definitely would have to be to have David E. Ross come back out and put the stake in. That needs to be done to answer definitively the location of the drain.
Okay. Thank you.
all right. So does the board agree that we need to support the cameras or the camera? Yes?
I support it. I don't know if do we need one? No, I support, yes, I support we having a
Okay.
camera.
I do too. I support it. I mean, I have lots of reservations about it, but yeah. If that's an additional piece to answer the puzzle, then, we have one.
Yeah.
Question, Margaret, if it's a police department camera and for some reason it sprouts legs and walks away or gets damaged,
Mhm.
then what are we doing for a replacement for the police department?
Mm-hmm. I'd have to talk with Chief. I'll talk with
Okay.
Chief. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I would just as soon have sat out there all day long. But I think I saw what I needed to see as kind of a layperson who doesn't, a non-engineer, someone who doesn't know. You could just see where the water was flowing in.
Going. Yep. Okay.
Okay. We ready to move on? Are you finished with your report? I want to make sure I'm
Oh, yes, I am.
cutting
Thank
you
you.
off.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is the Bullard House, Curry Trail Storage Building. So they're still planning on that to be end of next week. Is there any prep work being done is it next week that has the
December, I can't remember the date. I thought they said December 7th, so it could be the beginning of next week.
Yeah.
Right, well,
I am
next week.
not up to speed on the work, any work that they've been doing to move shelving over.
Okay.
I will have to ask, I'll have to follow up with the historical
Is
commission.
the HVAC in?
No, it's going in next week.
Oh,
That's
okay.
next week, yeah. The
My,
hope
my
had
original
been,
thought is that the shelving units didn't need to wait for the HVAC to go in. And so if you now started unpacking things from downstairs, cleaning off those shelves, move those shelves over to the building, that once the HVAC is done, we're much closer to actually picking things up and putting it into that building and freeing up space in town offices.
Yeah, maybe when you do get an update, Margaret, you could pass it along.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the review of the Coffee Talk agenda. And I don't have it in front of me, the email that stated the different items.
But if I'm reading one of the emails, looks like it's from Margaret, AKA M2, budget and finance, special town meeting, CPA, shared streets and spaces, holiday light challenge, as always, other topics. COVID.
I don't know how much special town meeting is relevant anymore. When we first put it together, it was probably quite relevant, but
Yeah, yeah.
Well, unless you're going to talk about a possible one in the spring. And probably it would be the same items. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, we can keep it
I
on or
would-
drop it off.
I wouldn't mind spending a moment or two to get, assuming there are folks attending, but the residents' sort of feelings about a town meeting, delaying things versus having stuff because if you're doing, let's say we do it in March, it's still likely indoors over outside,
Mhm.
and I'd love to get a better temperature of what people are feeling about town meetings.
Or even maybe when they think,
Yeah.
If they want to wait a little longer, maybe till April because of the weather.
Or that just wait till those regular town meeting, and that just means the town meeting is very likely to last 2 nights in May because we have leftovers from last year, and there'll be big things on this year's agenda as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about doing a 2-night, maybe specific agenda where it's budget one night and then maybe other things, zoning,
Yep.
another night. That's
Yep.
okay. So the agenda still looks good to you both?
Yeah, I like that Margaret had thoughts about whether or not Board of Health or Board of Health designee about, I think even if we can do it without obviously violating anyone's privacy, but I know I get asked even about Berlin numbers of on COVID and how prevalent it's been and other things like that. And I've read some of the stuff that has gone out, but I think hearing it from a step closer to the source wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, whether it's our Board of Health or whether it's Neshoba Board of Health, it would just be
Yep.
kind of nice to hear from them. Margaret, I'm sure, I know I've been pressed, when's the office going to open? When are the offices going to open? So instead of that heat falling to you consistently, because now unfortunately people think that it's you who's stopping the offices from being opened, that if Board of Health can stand up and say no, based on 1, 2, 3, 4, this is why they're not opening.
So
I'm very proud of the fact that we have remained safe. We're doing business by appointments. We're right from the very beginning. We have worked really, really hard to assure everyone's safety, and I'm very proud of that. So
Yeah.
Good.
yeah, you should be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
And so do we want to have someone from, whether it's Bill Brookings or Neshoba Board of Health representative that might want to come and talk?
If the board would like, I can reach out well, I'll reach out to the Board of Health, but I really would like to see if we could get Jim Garify here from Neshoba,
Yep.
who's the lead person and who's been in charge of the contact tracing efforts
I-
there.
I think if we get him, we try to do something that's like time specific so that, he's not going to be overly excited to sit around and listen to us talk about the budget and finance process for the town of Berlin.
Mhm.
But
Right.
so we either put him at the beginning or put him at a time certain that when he shows up, we sort of wrap up whatever sentences we're on and jump into him and then go back to where we were.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Well, you let us know if you can secure Jim Garafi, and
That,
we'll take it from there.
maybe we could even get a couple members, one or two members of the Community Preservation Act Committee to kind of talk about their work that they've done over the first two meetings.
Yeah, I think GOTA is a great time to highlight some of the other volunteers and committees in town, not just us standing up there being talking heads.
Mhm.
Okay. Sound like a plan?
Mhm.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to reviewing the draft of the board and committee handbook.
I think, Peg, you're doing a great job. I read it and think it's great, and then Chris comes out with like 40 changes to it, all of which are things that like I should have said, why did I not see that when I read it? So I feel bad. I feel like I want to read it one more time, see if I can find something that everyone else has missed. But
Well, my goal is now that we have a boatload of comments in there is that I can go through and, comments that Margaret has made, make sure that they're in the wording, clear it out, and then go one more time when it's fresh and you're not reading comment, where was it? Comment followed, nah, and that we just go it that way. But no, I appreciate all the help, M2 and Chris and everybody who's been involved in getting that volunteer guide ready and out the door. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So do you want to bring this back to a meeting, a clean copy?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll take a vote?
Yeah, we'll take a vote, take one last look at it, whiz it through. I mean, there's two documents that are out there. One is the handbook and the other is the appointment something,
Yeah.
board and committee appointments. So that
Right.
one had like 0 comments on it. So that was awesome. It really was just the larger one that had more comments. And a lot of mine were just questions, because I didn't know, what do you want for a website here? Oh, this is pointing to somebody else. Where does this need to go? So I think with all the comments, Chris and Margaret provided, that we're in good shape to get it clean, and then I can get it back to you. So what the next earliest date is, the 14th? Because we're not meeting next Monday. 10th is coffee talk, and so the 14th is the first Monday. I think we're regrouping.
Okay.
Peg, I think you've done a great job on the draft. Thank you.
Anytime. Oh, and then of course we go into, my hello again from the town of Berlin, and there goes Chris. I found 2 spelling mistakes, and I'm like, seriously?
I just want to point out that there were not 40 things that
I don't know, it was close.
changes to the handbook.
I don't know. I'm going to, Scott, I will count them up and I will send you a tally. Just saying.
I mean, I thought they were all good improvements. I don't think any of them were wrong. It's just,
No.
I read it, didn't see anything that I thought needed to be done. And like, oh, that is better. That would have been a better way of doing it. I feel bad that I didn't find things.
I'll just be the editor.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. All right. So did anybody have any comments, questions between, besides Chris's typos and typo findings and Margaret updated?
Oh, I spent a good amount of time.
You're lying to me.
I hope they were helpful.
They were very helpful.
No, I did. No, I did. I went through the whole thing, so I hope they were helpful.
They were very helpful. Okay. All right. So I've already warned Jan. It's coming. My goal was to try and get it out this week so that I could put in yet another reminder for coffee talk and for the shared streets meeting, so we can hit as many people as possible.
Well, we also want to get out this week because by next week, there'll be new information on some of those points. We'll have to
I
rewrite
know.
some.
Well, no, that means that starts my where's my paper? That starts my thing for January. Look, I've already started a list, so we're good.
So in your next life, you're going to be a reporter, right?
No. I don't know. Xena Warrior Princess seems like it would be okay for a next life, the way that the world is going now. But yeah we're good.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to new business then, and the 2021 ABCC retail alcohol license renewals.
You guys warned me about this.
Yes. Mary warned you about it.
So the board has I think that the board could do this by a slate of licenses if you prefer. And I think that the alcoholic beverage licenses should be tackled separately since those need to be separately reported to ABCC. So how would you like me to just would you like me to read the names of the establishments? Or how would you like to do that? And then the board can vote them as a
Well, or
slate?
either that,
Yeah.
or we could just do the alcohol license renewals, accept them as printed.
Okay. The
In our
only
packet.
two, there's a little.
And I was gonna ask if there was any updates too.
There's, yeah, so any approvals that the board makes tonight, I would recommend that you vote all approvals contingent on all inspections and being done and fees being collected. There are two licenses that I asked the board to hold on because we have additional information we need to seek. I'm sorry, three. We have additional information we need to seek. We need to follow up with these establishments on real estate taxes and personal property taxes. And those are Homewood Suites by Hilton, Berlin Country Club, and Regal Cinemas. So I'm going to ask the board to hold off on approving those until your meeting on the 16th.
Okay,
Otherwise, they're all okay.
okay, so do you want to approve the slate of retail alcohol licenses as printed in our packet?
I would move that.
Okay.
I'll
Well,
second it.
okay. If there's no comments or questions, we will take a vote. Keith, aye.
Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
And then we have the common vics.
Again, the only ones that I asked the board not to approve are Homewood Suites by Hilton, Berlin Country Club, and Regal Cinemas, and that would be for common vics or any entertainment licenses.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the common vics in our folder for tonight?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, take a vote. Keith, aye.
Stone Eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Motion passes. So you just let us know when the others are ready to be approved.
Yeah, so we'll have to pencil those in on the 14th.
Yeah, I did see that a couple of them had some property tax or personal property tax that needed to be paid. So I believe we're down to board questions and comments. I have one. I'm just wondering when that Twinkle Tour is going to happen. Do you know?
Is this Saturday? Is it the 5th? Because I know that's when Berlin Lions, I think, was supposed to do the lights on the trees in front of the church, but I heard that they're already up.
Huh. Okay. Well, just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
I didn't enter the contest, but I think our Bailey Road is starting to look like, it might be nice to take a ride down there. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Peg.
So earlier when personnel people were here, they had talked about the updated plan from the consultant. Margaret, do we have a date-ish when we're finally going to get all of that from her?
We have a date-ish, and it's definitely going to be not this month, December.
Okay.
Final reports are coming in December. Not only the class and comp plan, but also the updated job descriptions and the policies and procedures manual should all
Okay.
be coming this month.
All Can I ask for a future meeting, and it doesn't need to be on the 14th because that's already looking kind of heavy. Can we revisit our goals and objectives, where we are, what we're doing? Oh,
I
Margaret's smiling.
I believe we talked about that last Thursday when we did agenda setting. And is it the 14th? Is
It's
it
the
off?
14th.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay. So, on the payment plan for the Sennies, where are we with that?
Okay, Chris, the Select Board Chair, Finance Committee Chair, and I will be meeting with the Sennies on the 8th
Okay,
to discuss a payment plan.
all right.
And Scott, your request from last week will also be addressed. This is with respect to what, taxes? Was it taxes? Yes, it was real estate taxes, yeah.
Yes.
So Margaret, I can follow up with you offline for like next steps on the Maya grant and what we need to do for the roof
Yeah.
for that.
I
And
think
then-
that's going to entail placing an order.
That's what I thought that I saw, that the invoices needed to be in by, I want to say like the middle of December or so. We'll do that. A little fun thing. So as I was reaching out to Jan at the item and kind of warned her that the next installment of, hey, what's Berlin been up to? Again, as I look through other local newspapers, the Community Advocate, just because I get it delivered every week, there's so many pictures. There are so many stories about what local towns are doing, and it just kills me that Berlin doesn't do it as well. So I reached out to a gal in town, Lisa Spinney, wonderful photographer. You see her around everywhere, even when she's out and about on her own. She takes some fantastic photos. So I said, hey, would you be interested? And, just putting in some random photos to the item of whatever they want, your call. I reached out to Jan and she said that they willingly and get all giddy and tickled pink when people submit photos. So again, I reached back to Lisa, gave her the go, gave her all the information that she needed, but it's just another opportunity to kind of keep Berlin out there in the paper so people know, what's going on, even if it's our letter, even if it's people hanging out at the general store having coffee, down at 19 Carter and watching that whole patio, get fixed. It's just a nice way for people to say, hey, we're concerned about you. We want to show you what we're doing, hashtag Berlin Pride. So, if you pick up a item in the not so distant future, it may be out there. And I was going to reach out to Marty Miller, who has, I don't know, a bazillion photos of the town, and see if there's anything that he's willing to share as well.
Well, maybe you're not going to be a reporter. Maybe you're going to do marketing in your next life.
No, you want to know what I'm going to do in my next life?
I know, Xena.
No.
Yeah.
See, here, Margaret, I need you to take your finger and do this. Take your finger and do this. And then see on the camera, I'm turning into Margaret and Margaret's turning into me. No, Scott, you can't play. So
Why doesn't
So-
everybody do it?
yeah, there you go. So yeah.
I thought it was just to see if your fingers touch.
No, that's the
Oh,
thing, when you
gosh.
you look and there's like a hot dog or whatever, but no, this is what I plan on being in my next life this way, because Mags is to my
No.
immediate left.
No, Max.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm pointing to you. Yes,
Oh,
on my
I
camera.
Thought, I
You're
thought we were
next to me.
connecting fingers somehow.
No, not that close. No, I'm.
Oh, you're going to be a
pointing
town
you.
administrator.
Yes. I've already given her like 10 to 15 years for a warning, so we're good. Just saying.
Just don't be a town
Well,
administrator during a pandemic.
Nope.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No. Mhm.
All
Hey,
right.
if you check out hashtag Berlin Pride,
Yep.
I don't think it has anything to do with our town.
Really?
We have a football team and a lacrosse team and ice hockey teams and
It's not like any of us?
a big downtown, and there's apparently a gay pride celebration about to go on. And
Then there you go. It's all of that. All right. So we're going to have to come up with like a new hashtag.
Could be
But
Berlin MA Pride or something like that.
okay. There you go. All right. That's all I
Or
got.
we just take it over. It becomes ours.
We just
Heck
take
with
it
all these
over.
other Berlins.
Yeah.
We're
I'll
the
be
best of all
Xena.
the Berlins anyway.
That's right. We
Yeah.
are the best Berlin. So I'm good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Did you have anything, Scott? Are you good?
I'm good for today. I tend to save my questions during the TA report.
Yeah, I guess I did too, pretty much. So we don't have need for an executive session this evening, so I guess I would take a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Scott.
So moved.
And seconded.
Very good. Okay, aye, aye, aye.